The stars were quiet that night. No explosions, no wars, just silence in the deep space between galaxies. Then, the signal came. It was soft at first, a strange pulse, a cry repeating over and over, lost in space for who knows how long. Most advanced alien species ignored it. The message was weak. It came from a small dying race called the Yilari. Nobody cared about the Yilari. They were peaceful, old, and almost forgotten. But Earth was listening. In a secret human space station far above the planet, a young technician named Erin noticed the signal. She worked the night shift. Nothing ever happened at her station. But that night, her screen flashed red. She blinked. The signal repeated again. Unknown distress code detected. Language: hybrid binary. Source: Deep Quadrant Zeta 9. She called her commander. Then the commander called Earth's Defense Council. Within minutes, top scientists and generals were awake and watching the signal live. The message, once decoded, was short, but it chilled the room. This is not a war call. This is a warning. We are not your enemy. Help us, or everything dies. One of the scientists asked, "Is this a trick?" Another general frowned. "Why warn us? What's coming?" But the strangest part wasn't the words. It was what came with the signal. A small data burst. Inside it were strange coordinates. Deep in uncharted space, beyond known maps. A place where no ships had ever gone. Earth had two choices: ignore the call like others, or send someone to check. They chose to act. Within 24 hours, Earth launched its stealth ship, the Vigilant Star. It was fast, silent, and carried a small crew trained for deep missions. The crew didn't know exactly what they were looking for, only that the signal seemed desperate, and something in it felt ancient. Captain Reyna led the Vigilant Star. She was calm, smart, and had seen many battles. But this time, even she felt uneasy. As the ship entered deep space, the stars grew cold and far away. The crew stopped laughing. They stopped talking much. It felt like something was watching them. 10 days later, they reached the coordinates. There was no planet, no star, just a floating graveyard. Hundreds of broken ships drifted silently in space. Some looked like Yilari design. Others were unknown. Some had strange burn marks, cuts that glowed with black energy. No life signs, no movement, only wreckage. Is this what the signal warned about? Reyna asked, staring at the horror outside the window. Then they found it. A small Yilari escape pod, still active. They brought it on board. Inside was a weak, trembling Yilari survivor. His skin was pale, his eyes full of fear. He looked at Reyna and whispered in a broken voice, "You shouldn't have come." "What happened here?" Reyna asked softly. The Yilari shook his head. It doesn't kill. It erases, whole races, like we never existed." Reyna frowned. "Who is it? What is it?" The Yilari closed his eyes. "We don't know. It came from below the void. Not from your space, not from mine. It's hunger with a mind." The crew watched the survivor with growing fear. This wasn't just a lost battle. This was something far worse. Erased civilizations, energy beyond known science. How had no one else seen this? They scanned the area, trying to find more answers. That's when they saw it. In the background of the original SOS signal, behind the static and the voice, was something else. A shape, faint, almost like a shadow moving behind stars. And it was moving toward them. Reyna gave the order to leave. Now, back to Earth. As the Vigilant Star turned to leave, the ship's sensors picked up something strange. A sudden drop in temperature, a flicker in space. Something brushed against the ship, like a hand on a cold window. Everyone froze. Was that a ship? One crew member asked. "No," said the pilot. "That was something else." They returned to Earth, quiet and shaken. The Yilari survivor was taken to a secret lab. The message was reviewed again. Scientists zoomed into the background and saw the shadow again. Clearer this time. It had eyes. Not one. Many. Watching. And then something even more terrifying. Hidden deep inside the signal, the computers found a hidden line of code. A short message, left by someone else, not Yilari. It said only 3 words. It heard you. The vigilant star floated quietly in space, far away from Earth. Behind it, darkness. In front, the graveyard. Captain Reyna stood at the viewing window. Her eyes watched the wreckage slowly drift by. Ships from different worlds. Yilari, unknown races, even some that looked too advanced to name. Broken, burned, silent. No lights. No signals. Lieutenant Juno checked the scans again. No life signs, just metal and ashes. The crew had seen wrecked ships before, but not like this. These ships weren't just destroyed. They looked erased. No escape pods. No emergency beacons. No logs. Only empty hulls, torn and melted like wax in fire. "Captain," Juno said, voice shaking. "This is not a battlefield. This is a grave." Reyna nodded. "Then why is there only one survivor?" They turned to the Yilari, now resting in the medical bay. His body was weak, but his fear was stronger than ever. When Reyna entered the room, he tried to sit up. "You must leave," he said. "If you stay, it will come." Reyna sat beside him. "Tell us, what is it?" The Yilari closed his eyes. "We called it the Hollow. It does not speak. It does not feel. It is not from our galaxy. It comes, and then nothing remains." Juno asked from behind, "Why send a signal if you knew it would follow?" "We hoped someone stronger would hear us," the Yilari whispered. "Someone who would fight back." Reyna stood. "We will." The Yilari looked at her sadly. "Then you will die too." Just then, the ship shook. A soft vibration ran through the metal floor. Everyone froze. The engines were not moving. No weapons were fired. Yet the ship trembled. Reyna ran to the command deck. "Status?" she asked. The pilot stared at the screen. "Captain, something is near." "It's not on radar." But the stars just shifted. The crew looked outside. Nothing had changed. But somehow, the stars looked wrong, like they were bending, warping. Something massive was there, just not visible. Reyna gave a quick order. "Shields up. Silent mode. No transmissions." The ship went dark. Only red emergency lights blinked as the vigilant star floated silently through the wreckage. Then, on the outer camera feed, a shadow passed. It was fast, huge, almost invisible, but real. Something with no engines, no sound, just moving. "Did we just see it?" Juno whispered. "Yes," Reyna said. "And it saw us." Suddenly, the ship's eyes spoke. Incoming data spike. Unusual pattern. Hidden message detected. The screen lit up. The original SOS signal from the Yilari was playing again, but this time, the background noise was louder, deeper. Then, a voice. Not Yilari. Not human. It was low, broken, like stone grinding against metal. "You are seen." The screen turned black. Reyna stood still. The room was silent. Then the lights flickered. The ship's core began to overheat. No reason, no warning. The power systems crashed, one by one. Reyna shouted, "Emergency jump. Get us out. Now." The pilot hit the emergency warp drive. The ship's engines roared. But as the ship jumped through space, something followed. Back on Earth, alarms blared. In the main command center, Earth's Defense Council watched as the vigilant star returned early, too early. It dropped out of hyperspace just outside the moon base, engines failing, lights flickering. A rescue team boarded it within minutes. They found the crew alive, but shaken. Some were quiet. Some cried. One tried to rip wires from the wall, screaming, "It's still here." Captain Reyna walked out slowly. Her eyes looked distant, cold. She held something in her hand. A black crystal the Yllari had given her before he died. The Yllari never made it back. He had collapsed just before the jump. His last words were, "If it touched your ship, run." Earth's scientists examined the data. They found strange readings in the ship's sensors, unseen gravitational fields, temperatures dropping below space levels, radio waves that moved backward in time. But the scariest thing was the message. Hidden deep in the signal, in a code only Earth's oldest ag could break, were 3 new words. "It is awake." The Defense Council met in secret. Some wanted to warn the galaxy. Others wanted to stay silent. General Rao spoke last. "We are the only ones who answered that call. That means we are the only ones it will come for first." No one argued. And far out in the void, where the graveyard floated, the stars bent again. The world didn't know. No news report. No warning. Earth's people continued with their daily lives, not knowing something dark had followed the vigilant star home. But the leaders knew. Inside Earth's Defense Council, panic had begun to grow. Every hour, new problems appeared. Strange power surges in deep space stations, satellite systems crashing without cause, whole data archives vanishing. And one pattern was clear. It always started near the vigilant star's flight path. Commander Aisha, the head of Deep Threat Division, stared at the newest report. A research base on Jupiter's moon Europa had gone silent. No distress signal. Just nothing. "This is how it begins," she whispered. The council met in a high-security bunker below the Earth's surface. The air felt heavy, tired. The last report had confirmed what they feared. The creature, the hollow, was real. And it had touched the vigilant star. Dr. Mira, Earth's top xenoscientist, spoke carefully. "It doesn't destroy like a normal enemy. It removes data, memory, even biology. Whatever it touches, it deletes from existence." General Rao slammed his fist on the table. "Then why hasn't it attacked us directly?" Silence followed. Then Dr. Mira answered, "Because it's studying us." Reyna, standing in the shadows, stepped forward. She still looked pale, her voice cold. "It's already inside." The council turned to her. She told them what she hadn't shared before, about the strange dreams the crew was having. Dreams of black rooms, voices with no mouths, stars blinking out one by one. And the Yllari said something else. Reyna added, "He said Earth's curiosity would be our end." The council went silent. Then came the decision. Earth could not wait. They had to act first. Operation Silent Lance was approved. It was Earth's most secret weapon, a device called the Echo Bomb. Built from dark energy tech recovered from a forgotten war, the bomb didn't explode like normal weapons. It ripped open space and pushed whatever was nearby into a separate pocket of time. A kind of trap. It had never been tested. But Earth had no better option. The plan was risky. A small stealth ship would carry the Echo Bomb back to the graveyard. It would drop the device near the last known location of the shadow, and then vanish. Only volunteers could go. No AI. No remote control. If the Hollow saw the signal again, it would come. And Earth had only one crew crazy enough to try. Reyna and her team. She didn't hesitate. "We brought it here. We'll deal with it." Her crew stood behind her. Even the ones who had screamed in the dark. Even the one who no longer remembered his own name. The ship was named Wraith 9. Black, silent, and fast. As it launched into space, Earth held its breath. 5 days later, the Wraith 9 reached the graveyard. The ship turned off all lights. No broadcasts. Nothing. Reyna sat in the dark, holding the small trigger for the Echo Bomb. They had 10 minutes to place it and leave. But as they reached the center of the wreckage, the ship slowed down on its own. "Captain," the pilot whispered. "The controls, they're not working." Reyna stood up. Manual override. Nothing happened. Then the lights flickered and died. Outside the window, something began to appear. Not fast, not loud, just there. A curve of space, a black shape, too large to understand. It had no face, no mouth, but Reyna felt its eyes. The hollow had arrived. Reyna looked down at the trigger. "Now," she shouted. The bomb dropped from the ship, a tiny device, no larger than a hand. It glowed once, then twice. Then, the hollow moved, not like a ship, not like a creature. It folded toward the bomb. The crew watched in silence. Then the bomb activated. There was no explosion, no fire, just a blink. And the hollow was gone, back on Earth. Cheers filled the council room. The hollow had vanished. The ship returned. The crew was alive. Earth had done it. It had faced something ancient, something no other species had dared to fight, and won. But the victory was not complete. Dr. Mira called an emergency meeting the next day. She had found something in the final sensor logs. Right before the hollow disappeared, it sent one last signal, a short message. Just 2 words. Not alone. 2 weeks after the hollow vanished, Earth celebrated. Leaders smiled on camera. The media called it the day Earth fought back. But in secret rooms, behind locked doors, the feeling was different. Worried, nervous, because of those last 2 words, not alone. Dr. Mira couldn't stop thinking about them. If the hollow was just one creature, what else was out there? And where were they now? In a dark lab under the Himalayas, Mira studied the hollow's data. She had no pieces of it, no body, no remains, only sensor waves and strange distortions in space. But that was enough. She noticed something new. Every time the hollow moved, the stars near it shifted, slightly, like gravity was bending the light. But that wasn't the strange part. The stars didn't return to normal. They stayed wrong, as if something else had arrived after the hollow disappeared. Mira zoomed in on the data, one section at a time. Then she saw it, a pattern. Not random, not natural. It was a signature. Something had left a message in the stars themselves, coded in gravity. It was a map, a location. She sent the data to Commander Aisha and General Rao. They called an emergency meeting that same night. Reyna joined them via secure channel. Her face was pale again. She hadn't been sleeping. Most of her crew hadn't either. "They come in dreams now," she said quietly. "We see a place of black stone, a city that breathes." Isha replied, "We found something. Maybe that's what they want us to see." The council voted quickly. Send a probe. Not a ship, not people. Just a silent drone with strong defenses and recording tools. The probe took 3 days to reach the place in the stars, and what it found changed everything. It was not just a system of dead planets. It was a structure, huge, hollow in the center, orbiting a dead star. The probe called it the Maw. No metal, no engines, just black stone, floating like a ruin. But it was alive. The surface moved. Slowly, breathing like lungs of a giant sleeping in space. And as the probe flew closer, one signal came through. A voice, not in sound, but in thought. "We watched your fire. We saw your defiance. You are chosen." Then silence. The probe exploded. No warning, no blast. It just vanished. Earth froze. No one cheered now. The hollow was not the enemy. It was a test. Someone, something, had sent it first, to see who would fight, who would survive. And Earth had passed. But what did that mean? Were they being invited or hunted? General Rao said what no one else dared. This wasn't an attack. It was a recruitment. Commander Aisha frowned. Recruitment for what? Dr. Mira answered. A war. 3 days later, Earth's moon base picked up a new signal. Unlike the SOS before, this one wasn't broken or rushed. It was clean, strong, and it came from beyond the galactic rim. Translated, it said, "The gates open in 9 days. Send your champion." Everyone read it. The council, the scientists, even the public. The news leaked in hours. People panicked. Some cheered. Others prepared. Reyna sat in her room, reading the message over and over. She didn't know what the gates were. She didn't know who these things were that claimed to be watching Earth. But she knew one thing. The real threat was not coming. It had already arrived. In a hidden prison orbiting Saturn, Earth held something secret. It was a man from the Vigilant Star crew, Ensign Clark. Weeks after returning from the mission, he had changed. Stopped speaking. Stared at walls. Then he started drawing. Circles. Eyes. Cities made of bone and shadow. When asked what he was doing, he said one sentence. "They're not coming for war. They're coming for one of us." Then he laughed. And laughed. And didn't stop for 3 days. Now, Earth's leaders had a decision to make. Do they answer the invitation? Do they send a champion? Or do they run and hope it's not already too late? 9 days. That was how much time Earth had before the gates opened. The message had been clear. Send your champion. But what did that mean? Earth had no answers, only questions. And fear. The council met in a sealed room beneath the Earth's surface. They didn't need to speak to know what the decision was. The world needed a hero. Commander Usha looked at Reyna, the Vigilant Star captain, still worn and pale from her past mission, stood silently, her eyes locked on the table. "I won't send someone else," Reyna said quietly. "I brought this to Earth. I brought the hollow." Isha exchanged a look with General Rao. "You are the only one who knows what it feels like. You saw it up close. You survived." Reyna shook her head. "I survived by luck, not strength. Whoever these beings are, they are not something I can defeat. None of us can." General Rao spoke, his voice hard. "Then you'll lead. Lead them." Everyone in the room knew what he meant. Earth's champion was not just one person. It was an army. A small, specialized force that would have to fight without understanding their enemy. "I'll take the team," Reyna said, her voice steady despite the growing weight in her chest. "But we need to know more. We need answers." Isha agreed. "Then we'll go to the Maw. We'll enter their territory and face them head-on." But that was the only thing they knew for sure. They were flying blind. The next day, the Vigilant Star was prepared for launch once more. This time, there would be no peace, no more silence. Reyna's team was small, only 5 others, all volunteers, all experienced, but none of them knew what to expect when they arrived. The ship flew toward the coordinates of the Maw, a dark shadow hanging in the void. As they neared, the stars shifted again, just as they had before. The crew was silent, watching the strange field of broken light. Then the gates appeared. A massive glowing ring of energy, floating in space, opened wide. Inside, nothing could be seen but darkness. The ship was pulled toward it as if it were a magnet, the walls of the Vigilant Star shaking under the strain. Reyna looked at her crew, each face pale, each hand tight on their control stations. "It's time," she whispered. The Vigilant Star passed through the gates. On the other side, there was no space, no stars. Just endless black, a void like the heart of a forgotten galaxy. And then the creature appeared. It was not just one being. No, there were many. At first, it seemed to be a cloud, shifting, changing. But as the cloud stretched and broke, Reyna saw what it truly was. The hollow was no longer just a shadow. It had become something more. It had grown. The creatures before them were vast, terrifying, like giants made of darkness and cold. Their eyes, if they had eyes, burned with a red light. They towered above the ship, their shapes folding in and out of the fabric of space itself. They weren't alive in the way Reyna understood life. They were something else, ancient, cosmic, things that had no need for time or space. And yet, they spoke. "You are chosen." The voice boomed through the ship, not in sound but in thought, deep and filled with weight. Reyna stood, gripping the chair in front of her. "What do you want?" The response came, but it wasn't a direct answer. Instead, it came as a question. "Are you ready?" The crew froze. The air was thick. They were not prepared for this. How could they be? "What do you mean?" Reyna shouted, but the question was not answered. The creatures slowly turned, one by one, toward the crew. Then, with a sudden movement, a massive shape broke from the dark mass, a shadow that was the Hollow. It approached the ship, growing larger as it drew closer. Its form was now a monstrous thing, sharp and undefined, like a storm crashing through the galaxy. Reyna stepped forward, her voice steady despite the rising fear. "I'm not afraid of you." The Hollow stopped. And then the creature spoke again, its voice a wave that rippled through the ship. "Your choice." It was an order, a command. Reyna didn't understand, but she knew what it meant. This was no longer a fight. It was a test. Earth had been chosen, and now the final decision was up to them. Would they accept what these creatures wanted from them, or would they fight to the end? Reyna looked to her crew. Each of them, like her, was unsure, scared, but resolute. And then, without a word, Reyna made her decision. "Prepare the ship," she said, her voice strong. "We're going in." The Vigilant Star flew forward. The Hollow followed. The Vigilant Star moved forward, its engines humming quietly in the vast dark of the maw. Behind them, the massive creatures, the Hollow, followed, their shapes flickering in and out of the darkness like ghosts. Reyna gripped the control panel, her heart pounding. She could feel their presence, heavy and cold, like shadows pressing in on all sides. She glanced at her crew. Fear was visible in everyone's eyes, but none of them spoke. There was nothing to say. They were past the point of talking. The Hollow had stopped speaking in thoughts. Now there was only silence, a thick, suffocating silence that pressed in on them as the ship flew deeper into the maw. They approached the center of the darkness. A massive shape appeared, a gigantic structure made of black stone and twisted metal. It seemed to float in the emptiness like a broken piece of the universe itself. "Is that the heart of it?" asked Lieutenant Hara, her voice barely a whisper. Reyna didn't answer. She didn't know. No one did. The Vigilant Star entered the structure. Inside, there were no stars, no light, just the cold, empty blackness. Then came the voice again. "You have passed the trial." Reyna's chest tightened. "Trial? What trial?" The voice did not answer. Instead, a new shape began to emerge from the shadows. A figure, tall and thin, dressed in dark robes made of shifting shadows. It stood in the center of the room, unmoving, its face hidden. Reyna couldn't shake the feeling that this was what they had come for, the true test. The figure raised a hand, and the entire room shifted. The walls began to twist, folding inward like they were alive, creating a glowing path that stretched ahead. Reyna stood tall. "We didn't come here to be tested. We came here to understand, to fight. If you want to take us, then do it." For a moment, the figure was still. Then it spoke, its voice clear and cold. "You seek to understand. You seek to fight. We do not come for war. We come for evolution." "Evolution?" Reyna repeated, her voice shaking. "What do you mean?" The figure's form began to change, twisting into something else, something larger, more terrifying. Its eyes glowed red, burning through the darkness. It towered over the crew. "We are not the first." The figure's voice became a low growl. "We are not the last. The universe does not stand still. We seek those who will join us, those who will evolve into something greater, something eternal. The truth crashed into Reyna's mind like a heavy weight. These creatures, these hollow, they weren't here to destroy humanity. They were here to change them, to join them, to take them into an unimaginable future. No, Reyna said, her voice steady, though every part of her wanted to run. We're not here for that. We won't join you. We are humanity, and we decide our future. The hollow let out a low, vibrating sound, like laughter echoing through the chamber. You misunderstand. You cannot refuse the change. It is already in you. It has always been in you. The walls began to pulse. The air grew thick, filled with a strange pressure that made it hard to breathe. Reyna's chest tightened, her hands shaking. We didn't ask for this, she said. We never did. The hollow figure stepped closer. But you were chosen. Chosen by the universe. Chosen by us. Reyna's thoughts raced. This wasn't just about survival. It was about humanity's future. Could they truly resist this? Could they stand against it? But in that moment, something inside her clicked. They didn't need to fight for survival alone. They didn't need to evolve in the way the hollow wanted. Humanity had always found its own path, through courage, creativity, and choice. Reyna took a deep breath, turned to her crew, and nodded. We fight for humanity. We fight for our choice. The hollow paused. Then you will be tested once again. Your choice will determine your fate. You will either join us, or you will remain lesser. Humanity will decide if it will evolve, or if it will be lost in time. The room began to crack. The ground trembled beneath their feet. The hollow's shape stretched and warped, as if the very fabric of space was bending under the weight of their presence. Reyna's team prepared for the final decision. They had to fight, but not just with weapons. They had to fight with everything they were. The ship's engines roared to life. The crew stood tall. They weren't going to accept this fate without a fight. Prepare for everything, Reyna shouted. We're not losing humanity today. And with that, the battle began.